A work breakdown structure, also called a WBS, is the project management term for a hierarchy of tasks. By breaking tasks down in this way, project work is easy to assign, track, and manage. To uniquely identify each task in your project, you'll need WBS codes. Well, if you look at this view, you'll see the task ID column. Well, these numbers, the task IDs, are not a WBS because if you move tasks around, those task IDs change. And you really want WBS codes. For the most part, you want them to stay the same. So the easiest thing to do is to insert the WBS field into a table. So I right-click the task name heading and choose Insert Column, and then type WBS. Click the WBS field, and now the codes are in this table. Well, this shows you that project actually has a WBS numbering scheme behind the scenes, and it's just numbers at every level. So planning move is at the top level, so it has a number of 1. And you can see down here, construct and set up space has a number of 2 because it's another top-level task. On the other hand, draft budget is actually 3 levels down, so it has a code of 1.1.2. Well, if this numbering scheme works for you, that's great because you're done. You don't have to do anything else with the WBS codes. But you can also customize WBS codes to fit what your organization uses. To do that, on the Project tab, click WBS and then choose Define Code. Well, this dialog box lets you define the numbering scheme for your WBS codes. The first box that you can fill in is the project code prefix. Basically, that comes in handy if you're going to have multiple projects in one master project, and you need a prefix to uniquely identify each project in this big master project, even if all the WBS codes in each project are the same. So just to see how this works, I'll type in a prefix, and we'll make it OFC1 for the office move and put a hyphen as a separator. Well, now the next section is the code mask, and that's where you really get into defining your scheme. So the first thing you do is click the first sequence cell and click the down arrow. And you have a couple of options. The first one is ordered numbers, and that just means numbers that come in sequence. You can also do ordered uppercase letters, which means uppercase A to Z, or lowercase ordered numbers, so that's lowercase A to Z. And then the last one is characters unordered. That means you can mix numbers and letters, but project's not going to put them into sequence, so you're going to have to type those values. Those are really good for abbreviating phases, for example, PLN for planning. So at the top, we're going to choose characters unordered. Now the next thing is the length. Project fills in any, and that means that level can be any length long. But WBS codes should be on the short side, so we'll set this length to 3. Now that means it can actually go from 1 to 3 characters. The separator is a period, and that's actually a pretty nice separator to use, but you can also use a hyphen, a plus sign, or a slash if you want, but we'll stick with the period. Now in the second sequence cell, we'll choose ordered numbers, and we'll change the length to 3 again. In this case, with this length of 3, project will actually increment the numbers, but it's going to go from 1 to the maximum length you can get in 3, so it's 1 to 999, and then it would actually recycle again, but 999 should be plenty. The third level, I'm going to choose uppercase letters ordered, and we'll change the length to 3. And the last level we'll make lowercase ordered, and we'll make that 2. There are 2 checkboxes that you want to look at. They're both turned on, and that's really what you want. The first one, generate WBS code for new task. That means if you add a task to your project, project will automatically assign a WBS code to it. And since you want every task to have one of these codes, you really want that checkbox on. The second one is verify uniqueness of new WBS codes. Well, you want the codes to be unique, so what this will do is if you create a new task with a new code, it'll check and make sure it's not a duplicate. If it is a duplicate, it'll warn you so you can fix it. The other thing to notice, up at the top, there's a code preview, so you can actually see what your code's going to look like. And if it isn't what you want, then just make the changes that you need. So now we're ready to click OK. When I do that, you can see that the new code mask shows up in the WBS column. Well, because we use those unordered characters, we just have to do one other thing, and that's to type some values in for those top levels. So planning move is a top-level task. So click the WBS cell, and I'll type PLN for the planning phase. And when I press enter, you can see that it fills in for all the tasks that are in the planning phase. The next one is construct and set up space. That's another top-level task. So in this one, it's construction, so I'll type CON and press enter. And you can see that project substitutes the CON in all those tasks. Now let's say you end up assigning the WBS codes, but then you do a lot of work on your schedule and you move a lot of tasks around and things get out of order. Well, if you haven't used the codes for anything, for example, like naming documents that go with the tasks, you can renumber the WBS codes in Project. To do that, on the Project tab, click the WBS down arrow, and in this case, choose Renumber. The entire project option is selected, and so we can leave it at that way. If I had selected tasks, then the other option would be selected, and you could just renumber just those selected tasks. But in this case, we'll renumber the entire project. It asks you to confirm, so click Yes, and then it would go through and renumber everything. WBS codes uniquely identify each task in your project. Project comes with a basic numbering scheme in place, but you can set up your own to match what your organization uses.